the Circle with Shana Robinson and Sandra Muller. This is a place where we are all students and teachers to each other. A place where the warrior dares to begin. The adventurer follows curiosity. The healer discovers the medicine. The teacher shares experience. Find inspiration to follow your own truth. And join us as we square the circle, knowing that the drum is the heartbeat, calling all to one. Hello, Sandra. Nice to see you, and I'm so glad we're here to talk again today.
Hi, Shana. So lovely to be with you again. And we're separated from this big ocean, but we are so lucky to be together in this way. I'm so looking forward for this conversation.
Me too. And so for those listening, this is going to be called The Medicine of Quartz Crystal. As we've been doing these programs, it's about the whole idea of being one, pulling oneness into this, with the foundation of shamanism behind us, knowing that we're looking at things as warriors, adventurers, as healers and teachers. And pulling all this information together, we felt we had to divide it up into sections. And as healers, the idea is bringing medicine to the planet. And so today's medicine is the medicine of quartz crystal. We were going to start, I think, with a little bit of history, and I'm ready to dive in if you're ready to dive in.
Absolutely. I just want to show what a quartz crystal looks like.
Oh, good idea. Good idea.
You never know. So this is one of my favorite ones. It's clear quartz. It comes from Brazil. It's a little polished wand that I often use. So there you go.
Great. I'm just going to ask you a quick question, though. When we talk about quartz crystal, where are the predominant areas from which it's collected?
That's a great point, because we have quartz everywhere in the planet. It is the most abundant mineral under our feet. It is silicon dioxide, and the quartz from different locations seems to have a totally different feeling. I find that the quartz from Himalaya is extremely brilliant and strong. The crystal quartz from Brazil, it comes in many colors. Citrine would be the yellowish color, and white is the color we use more in shamanism, clear quartz. But the Brazilian quartz can come quite large and it's a softer feeling. We find a lot of Lemurian quartz also in Brazil, and we can get into that later. And then we have the quartz from the Alps, the alpine quartz, that usually is not clear. Usually it has more of a smoky quartz, but it is very powerful. But it's hard to find clear quartz from the Alps. And then we have Chinese quartz, we have Chilean quartz, we have quartz all over the planet. We really do. And one of the finest quartz that we have is from United States, from Arkansas.
I was going to ask about Arkansas.
Yes, it's beautiful.
And I was going to say upstate New York has some too, the Herkimer diamond, because that's also quartz, correct?
Absolutely. And I love Herkimer diamond quartz. Very powerful quartz. So we'll be able to learn. I'm not sure if we're going to have enough time to talk about really get deep into the frequency differences in the quartz, but we'll give it a try.
Well, we'll see where we go, and if this is part one, we'll go to part two as we continue
Exactly.
our explorations for the medicine of quartz crystal.
Yes, because so many people love minerals in this time. The industry that we have, the Tucson show, brings so many dealers from all over the world, and so many clients love minerals and love quartz. And I think it is because there's a lot of magic in the mineral world, something we're trying to tap into. So today we'll try to give a little bit of explanations of information and also why we love minerals so much.
And I was going to start with our conversation in one place, but just this piece of conversation has me shifting. I wanted to share a piece from Christine Northrup. She's a medical doctor who
Mm-hmm.
actually did some writing on quartz crystal as a healing piece of something to have in your toolkit. She talked about quartz crystal and some of the properties that crystal has. She called it a great information gatherer. It takes
Yeah.
information. When we begin to think of the get my mouth around that, technological uses today, we think about quartz is in just about everything,
Right.
computers, you name it. And as she was looking at quartz and crystals, she was doing it from the point of feng shui, which is appropriate positioning on the body to bring harmony. So without going into a
Mm.
completely other discipline. And she was speaking to the fact that when we wear jewelry, and this is a bit of a broader topic, we have to pick those minerals that feel right to us, the ones
Mm-hmm.
that actually make us feel good and suit us. And she had some really interesting things about it. She said, and I wanted to ask your opinion about this because here's my list that she gave us. She said, when you pick jewelry and things, she said, understand first of all that everything you put on your body has energy because
Right.
it vibrates because it is. And so when you put it on your body, be aware of what you put on your body. If you're going to wear a mineral, she said, have the setting have an open back so it can interact with your body without
It
being
can
blocked
touch.
off.
Yes.
Irradiation. Now you can probably speak to this because aren't some minerals irradiated to help them
Yes.
change color?
Yes, absolutely. And we wouldn't want that. But fortunately, pure white quartz is not. The one that would be radiated would be citrine, to go from a very light yellow color to a very intense yellow orangey color. So that one, I would stay away from. But when you are talking about clear quartz,
Hmm.
there's no need to radiate,
Right.
so you're fine. I think quartz is, from my understanding, channeling, quartz, and um, that it is the mother of all minerals. That's
Hmm.
how she talks about herself. It is a feminine spirit. If you want, I can read you a little channeling that I did the other day, asking, who is quartz?
Oh, that'd be brilliant. That'd be brilliant because we've had the scientific piece here, silicon dioxide. Well, what about the spiritual side? What does she say for herself?
Where she says, I am quartz. I am a rainbow of the multicolor spectrum that can enhance your life and connect you to the beauty of the universe and show you a profound integration and understanding of nature's magnificent creation and beauty. Quartz, quartz is my structure. Quartz comes as solidified liquid light that can shine on you a brightness and a wisdom that no other beautiful mineral is capable of. Although each mineral is a blessing of extraordinary beauty and power, quartz embodies the light that you are made of. quartz is your connection to life force and acceptance. There is always a need to be in acceptance in your life, since here on planet Earth, many challenges and dualities are in motion always. I, Quartz, I am here to show that you are pure light emanating. See yourself as a lighthouse that can illuminate a vast ocean and help guide those lost sailors navigating blindly through their lives. I am here to remind you that the beauty you see in me is the beauty I see in you.
Wow.
That is so sweet, no?
Absolutely lovely. The idea that there is another being that can reflect beauty to us of our own. That's amazing. That's amazing.
I just find it to be just Mother Nature so kind, giving us these
Mhm.
amazing gifts. Because it is true that every mineral is absolutely astonishing, beautiful. And just the
Right.
fact that she created all these minerals. I mean, who
It
needs art when you have access to, be mesmerized by a shape and a form and a color?
Right, right. I think what's really interesting to me, and maybe I'm treading in your bivouac here, is that as we begin to look at the minerals and their structures, we begin to learn that there are so many different structures. There are the cubic
Right,
minerals, the hexagonals, tetragonals, orthorhombic, monoclinic,
absolutely.
triclinic, trigonal, and all of them have internal structures around various, like three axes. And because of these structures, there are different qualities and different ways that they carry frequency
Yes.
and different effects that they can have when worn
Through the
upon
color,
through the
through the
color,
color
through
also.
color and the structure is what I've
Yes,
understood too. And so
totally.
to me, the mathematics of it, when
Hmm.
I begin to think in the broader metaphysical, the broader sense of things, the precision of the mathematics speaks to me of a designed universe at
Yes,
some level, because we have these
absolutely.
incredible structures that, but for their form and their precision, they wouldn't be. And so it fascinates me that this whole.
I just need to show you an exquisite mineral since we're talking about different ones. Well, I
Oh,
have
please
one
do.
here that is amazing. This is selenite. I don't know if you can see the shape of it.
Oh yeah,
Totally natural, never been touched by a
right.
human being. So this is a beautiful crystal. But the one I want to show you is right here because you were talking about architecture. So this is fluorite.
Oh, I love
And
fluorites. Yes, beautiful.
so it's a lavender fluorite.
Hmm.
But I don't know if you can tell, it is cubic. And one cube inside the other cube, and a smaller cube, and a bigger cube. And it just is endless cubism. How can Mother
Right.
Earth have done something so beautiful? But even if we adore all of the minerals, which I do, I collect all of them, I think from my understanding is that quartz is the mother of all the mineral kingdom. That is always what I get as information for healing,
Hmm.
for the purpose of helping us in our daily. Quartz is number one.
And
But
you
I
could.
wanted to ask you, Shana, because you have so much information about how has quartz been used in throughout our history, throughout
Sure.
shamans and indigenous peoples.
Right. My focus has basically been on North America and Siberia, Asia. So those are kind of the places where I have looked for this kind of information.
Hmm.
So if we look to the New World, which would be North America, South America, the term typically in the literature has been called the magic crystal. And this was in
Wow.
the Americas and Europe. In the Old World, they were called rainstones, which I found fascinating. So you'll find that these crystals have been used in the Pacific Northwest, the Kwakiutl people, in California, the Chumash, the Cahuilla, the Yuma, the
Mhm.
Diego, Arizona, the Wapai, the Wallapai, the Dene Navajo people. And fascinating enough, it's not only quartz crystal. I was stunned when I went to review this material for today. Tourmaline
Ah,
was
wow.
another partner to this. Now they
Wow.
found these crystals and they know that they were used in ancient times because in grave goods they're often buried with people. So it's the grave goods that tell about them. And the way that they're buried sometimes also informs them. For example, if a quartz crystal is wrapped in rabbit fur, there usually is a connection with some kind of fertility, which is interesting because we know
Wow.
about rabbits. And it's fascinating. So quartz crystal use in the Americas goes back in grave goods in North America, particularly to about 300 BC. We can actually see evidence in grave goods. And of course, in the old world, we've got the Altai Cyan shamans, we've got the Uyghurs, we've got the Kazakhs, the Kyrgyz, the Yakut, all have information about quartz crystals. And lest we forget our Southern Hemisphere friends, the Australian clever men,
Mm.
the only way they could become shamans was to have their insides replaced with crystals.
Wow.
So some of this was, I think it's fascinating, the initiation ceremonies in which the probationary shaman is taken into the wilds and goes through the process of being initiated. And we know when you initiate, you go from one state to another, and there's this kind of interim phase, the liminal phase,
Mm-hmm.
when you're not one or the other, but you're cooking, you're cooking. And at the end of the cooking, and this was something that I found fascinating from your channeling, was that there was a connection to the crystal, often with the idea of rainbow, because you mentioned
Mm.
rainbow, because it connects to the cosmos, which gets us back to the whole idea of crystals in some of these settings in the first place, is that because they have this kind of vertical appearance,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they are considered to be great connectors between the earth and the cosmos. And so the shaman would be using these as the connector to the cosmos to bring energy and power to the shaman to
Right.
perform
Right.
healing work. So the other
There's
piece,
so
yeah,
many different.
and language is a great key for this because many times these are called live rock or living rock, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is great. Many who are in
Mm-hmm.
Spanish, you can probably say this better than I. Piedra viva.
Piedra viva.
Exactly. That was how many of them were called, especially in the California
Wow.
area where there was a lot of Spanish being spoken. So the idea of clean, light, thunder, white, these were all terms in various traditional languages that described this rock quartz, this important piece in a medicine bundle. I wish I had a better picture of this. It did not come out very well. But the Coast Miwok, they were studied by Dr. Kelly, and she took a photograph of what was in one medicine bundle of a particular
Mm-hmm.
shaman. And right in the center were two pieces of quartz crystal. One was a
Wow.
very large one, and a smaller one. And according to her informant, it was the smaller one that was used to cure severe illnesses. So
Wow.
it's just fascinating.
Endless.
Endless
Endless. Endless.
examples of how quartz has played. Now, you touched a little bit upon this, and as I was looking through all my piles of yummy stuff about crystals, I found something that I wish I could give the attribution because I'd love to look for it again. The the author had talked about the three attributes of
Mm-hmm.
crystals. They're amplifiers,
Mm-hmm.
they're harmonizers, and they encourage free will responsibility, which I found
Yes.
interesting. So when we talk about amplifiers, it's a plus and minus here. This is a real
Mm-hmm.
powerful thing. You can amplify good things because we know the quartz can store whatever it comes in contact with. It's a storage
Right.
place. Not only is it a
Mm-hmm.
repository to express information, but it can also take on information. And the admonition here was to look at Atlantis. Now, we can
Mm-hmm.
take Atlantis as a true story, or we can look at it as allegory and symbolic. But the lesson from Atlantis with the crystal was that the crystal amplified every wish. And suddenly the Atlanteans had increasing desires and they got out of balance. And because they
Mm-hmm.
were out of balance with the earth, they were destroyed because they didn't understand how their wishes and desires were being amplified to the point of imbalance. As
Whew.
harmonizers, the suggestion was that the Lemurian had a problem. They were so close to nature and in such harmony with nature that sometimes those niggles that kept them from their personal growth brought them out of harmony because they were resisting personal growth. And it
Mm.
they were overlooking their ability to respond to their self and their soul because they kind of lost themselves. And so that was a disharmony in the process of their growth, which is why they were
Huh.
destroyed ultimately. So
Wow.
the bottom admonition was with all of this was that the problems weren't caused by the technology of the quartz crystal, but by the consciousness and intention behind it.
Right. And the ego
Exactly.
and the greed.
Exactly. And so it's fascinating because when you look at they're called, I'm forgetting who they are. Let me just double check the name of these people. Well, they call them, these are Southern California group on the Baja region. They
Uh-huh.
call this crystal
So
stone,
fascinating.
yes, the Weepe, the Weepe. This is part of
Mm-hmm.
their linguistics. They were looked, these stones were looked at as such potent things that only those who were able to handle them and control them, it was only for those individuals that they were safe to use.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who was unschooled, it was unsafe. The distinction made was that they're not evil, they're not
Mm-hmm.
good, they're pretty amoral, basic.
Right. That's what
The,
I was going to say. They don't have morals. So
exactly.
you have, when you're around crystal quartz, it is always advisable that you are speaking your truth from the heart, because as they can receive the information, they're also amplifying it back. So if there's a lot of fights in a room, and you seem to have family, problems, or fighting with your loved ones, it is advisable to understand that the crystal picked it up and will, because they are not moral, they don't have morality, they will
Right.
amplify that too. So
Mhm.
that's the time where you can, sage the room a little bit, put an intention that, it is part of the duality of being a human being.
Right.
It is how we learn, and that you can just blow a little bit of sage on the crystal and simply just say, please go blank again. So it doesn't create more of what you don't want. And also, there's another thing that I find so interesting about crystals that I learned from the helping spirits is that crystal is piezoelectric.
Hmm. Right.
So it carries electricity. That's how come we use it in quartz, watches and computers and every technological instrument. So it carries electricity by a friction or a bang, a light bang. That is what, simply put, what piezoelectricity is. And what the helping spirits were saying which is in the book, in my new book, Crystal Clear Joy, is that our hearts connect to the silicon dioxide that is underneath our feet, and that Mother Nature made this quartz the most abundant mineral that we have. Quartz is also in granite and many other forms of minerals, and that the piezoelectricity of the silicon dioxide is creating a kind of a heartbeat on Mother Earth and sending electricity to all living beings, including, animals and us, of course, human beings. So basically making our hearts beat in automatic. That is what they explain. So when I heard this information, I was shocked and immediately went to my doctor, cardiologist, and asked, could this be true that our hearts beat because of the piezoelectricity of quartz? And it was interesting, the answer. He said, it is possible because when we study cardiology and medicine, we understand that the heart can be removed from the body and still beat. So it beats automatically, autonome in French. And so there is not a connection, we're not plugged in.
Right.
And so it made me really think how important quartz is. It is basically connected to our life force. And that is, that is fascinating, because in the old times, I think our ancestors knew the danger of quartz. More than the danger, they knew of its importance. And now the information is more open due to, the internet, and we can all access this in a safe way and understand that it can connect us to our life force, which is the second journey that happened today. I wanted to read you what the helping spirits asked.
Please do.
Answered, because I did ask, how can quartz be used today in our lives? So we know how it was used in the past, and how can we use it today is really important for all of us to understand. So they answered, quartz veils. You see, most of the clear quartz has inclusions that we call inclusions in gemology. Also, you could see it as fingerprints or veils. It often has rainbows. And so it is talking about the veils inside of the quartz. Quartz's veils carry so much information for your transmutation of soul knowledge into your vessel. So to bring knowledge into our vessel. If you were able to slide inside a clear quartz with your imagination and realize that you're swimming in its light, it is in its knowledge, getting wet with layers of information now adhering to your skin and penetrating your DNA into your brain's higher capacities of absorbing information relating to all the past history of humanity and beyond time and space into the universal life carried out there for endless times. Quartz has the knowledge imprinted in its layers or veils. It was at some point water that solidified all its imprint of information that can be decoded now in the present time, but only for a need to know basis. So that is back to the Atlantis. We're not going to do this again, right? So we are more cautious and we're more knowledgeable on how to use quartz and how to benefit from this connection. So then they say, more importantly, It is a way to infiltrate inside of each one of you a unification with the cosmos and with the universe, showing you that you are not separate from the all existing universe. In order to create more balance and well being, we advise you to adhere yourself to the all, to include your existence to the all, to the life force happening in this time and space. The more you can embody this moment of life force bestowed upon you, the more joy will infiltrate your being. It is in separation of the all that the heart suffers great despair. Not feeling connected to the all depletes the vessel of truth. Use quartz crystals that have been carefully cleansed and activated by our loving frequency, which is, I'll explain, part of the work I do. In showers of light and love, we leave you with an opening granted for your curiosity to lead you to a safe path filled with joy. So they're trying to teach us how to use this power in a safe way to connect our souls, our bodies, our vessels, to expand more to the universe, not be so small, not be, I mean, we're all humans, we have problems, but quartz seems to be also a vehicle for us to understand that it is liquid light that has been solidified. I mean, it is amazing that it can be like this, I love quartz for that. And that it is teaching us that we are big. We're made of the all. We're made of the universe. We're
It
part of it.
it's very interesting because several things struck me as you were reading this beautiful channeling, and thank you for sharing that with us. Um, it speaks to this idea, and I can only vaguely recall when some of the Peruvian shamans are talking about taking points of view. You
Mm-hmm.
start with the very close to the ground view with the anaconda
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately work your way up to the condor, which has this great overview.
Right.
And to me, it sounds like quartz is something that, yes, it appreciates that we are close to the ground, but it's asking us and it's willing to help us to get that bigger view of the
Yes.
world where we can look at things not in a highly materialistic way, but even in more symbolic ways that help our soul and our spirit grow.
Absolutely. And make us feel on a daily basis that we are part of the universe. That has been so
Right.
important, the messages lately. We are not just our lives here. We are, we are universe. We are all connected. We are made of, stars. The stars are us. I mean, it's so beautiful too.
It is. It's absolutely
It
lovely.
expands you.
Hmm.
It expands you to break from this tiny little self that we are used to seeing our lives as me, my problems, my issues, my to-do list.
Hmm. I have a question that seems almost like a warning from this. Given that quartz is used in our technology and that we are so married in many ways or imprisoned by cell phones
Hmm.
today, I'm wondering if there isn't some warning here about staying in that small little box of the cell
Hmm.
phone, which is the temptation and which can throw
Hmm.
us off balance and keep us in that small view. While at the
Right.
same time, that same instrument, if used in a different way, if we're not taking selfies, if we're not taking pictures of our food and reporting, that I've got a wart on my big toe, if we're using it to
Hmm.
connect in a bigger way through the internet and other people and information, it seems like it's a mixed blessing, which I think I didn't know if you had any thoughts about that kind of dual experience with the technology we have today.
I I totally agree with you, but I think what they're trying to inspire us more, because we need our technology. We're not going to go backwards, you know.
Oh no, of course not.
But it is to my feeling, and of course, I could be wrong, is that they're inspiring us to go outside and to realize that we are part of the earth, that
Right.
the
Okay.
piezoelectricity, the heartbeat of this planet Earth, is connected to our own heartbeat of our own life force, and to even spend some time connecting with that, connecting
It,
to the galaxies, to the stars, to the universe, to the planet, to our hearts beating, to understand that the planet has a heartbeat, that we have a heartbeat, that we are made to connect.
hmm
And yes, we have our cell phones and all that, and those are great, but I think finding that balance
Right. The balance and the
is
harmony.
right, is where what we can do
hmm
with ease. It's not that difficult to take, even if you live in the city, um to go for a little walk in the park, to look at a tree, to listen to a bird, and to feel integrated with not only planet Earth, but to the entire universe. I think that is the lesson here.
hmm
When they say the all, for me, it means the all, not the all technology, the all that is alive, that including the stars. And one thing, we forgot to talk about a technology that is so interesting. Um, I'm going to go to Egypt now in October. I'm lucky to go for the first time. So I've been researching a little bit about the pyramids and why they were manufactured, and I've been looking at documentaries to understand a little bit better. So one thing I've understood is that the pyramids, the way they look now, the Giza pyramids, they don't have the coating anymore of
Right. They've
limestone,
lost
of
that.
a white limestone, that because it seems to be that they were not tombs,
Oh,
for
right.
their pharaohs, that they were energy amplifiers, a portal of energy for, a human being in preparation to have an experience of basically, traveling,
Spirit
which
travel.
is a
Right.
little right, which is a little
Exactly.
bit what we do in shamanism in a journey, right?
Right. Yeah.
But listen to this. I was amazed. A part of the pyramids is missing. It is the point of the pyramids that was a quartz with
Interesting.
a thin layer of gold.
Wow.
So that part is missing. So the original pyramid had the limestone white cover, and the pyramid on the top, a small pyramid made of white quartz with a thin layer of gold. So that blew my mind, because again, quartz is so important. We know that the Giza pyramids have been so important in our history.
Oh, and with alignments, solar
Yes,
alignments, and
absolutely.
harmonizing, and it's fascinating, the gold piece, because when we look at alchemy and we look at a lot of the symbolism, we are all working to that gold, and it's the gold
Yes,
standard of spirit, not
yes,
monetary or material gain, that we're
right.
aiming. So it's fascinating that that would be included.
Well, I think that I'm not exactly sure that what I'm going to say is correct. I think the gold provided an
Right.
electrical,
It was a
you
conduit.
know, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
so.
Exactly.
It activated the whole thing, the crystal and the gold
hmm
activated,
Right.
and the stones also have quartz. They
Right.
have realized that the quartz is everywhere. So basically, quartz is the most important. I now understand, when every shamanic journey and I ask about quartz, it always say, I, the mother of the mineral world, quartz. It always relates
When
to,
you think about it, isn't most sand? Most sand is
Yes,
crushed quartz. And
absolutely.
so when you think about all the sand on all the beaches and all the deserts under the seas, I mean, it's a great cover. It's
Yes.
everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yes, I think it is fascinating, and we should continue to learn about quartz and talk about it, and help all of us learn how to work with quartz. One day I was doing shamanic work, and because I'm a gemologist, for the last 40 years, shows my age, um, I was lucky enough to start communicating, as a channel to, not only to the Council of AR, but to crystals and particularly to quartz. And I was explained by the Council of AR, which is the group of helping spirits that helped me, that channeled, my new book, Crystal Clear
Yay.
Joy. Yeah,
Beautiful.
everything is just channeled with the Council of AR. And one day, what happened is that they showed me that they wanted to pass through an energy, their frequency, onto a cleansed quartz, a brand new, like a cleansed quartz that had not been used before for something else. And that day I was amazed because during the shamanic journey, they showed me one of my helping spirits came forward and showed me that they were going to use my body, my physical body, to send through this frequency, this vibration, and that my hands would basically deliver this frequency onto a quartz. So I started doing this in small quartzes, doing them individually. And they have explained so much more information. We don't have time to go over it today, but it is explained in the book
Hmm.
that once this quartz has this frequency, which is a frequency that they called altus reciprocity. So altus, would be from above, proximity to bring to us. And so it is basically to re-bring to us a frequency from above. Everything, it's a puzzle. Everything is starting to make sense why they wanted this done. And they want us to have access to a quartz that has this frequency that has been activated. And it's simple. You can just, meditate with it. You can just feel the energy. So they explained me that it was a gift they wanted to give to all of us right now, to have access to have a way to gather more of this frequency, of the universal frequency, because they said that we as human beings, we still need things, we still
Right.
need to
Yes, we
hold
do.
on to something, and so they know we love things, so they match the power of the quartz with our need to have something that we can hold on to. And it was so beautiful because they explained me that once the quartz was, this is my own, right? So I can touch it, but I would never touch yours or somebody else because everybody has an energy. But they said once the frequency was in the quartz, to package it immediately and seal it with their symbol, so that the person who will be gifted this quartz that is inside, or the person who buys it for themselves, knows that no other energy has contaminated the quartz, that it
Beautiful.
will become your tool, so there's so much that is happening with quartz. I think we don't have time to explore it all today,
Probably
but
not today, but it is fascinating. And I'm just thinking we're going to have another conversation because there are so many questions about cleansing,
Mm-hmm.
storing. But before we go, you have quite a collection. Would you like to talk a
Yes.
little bit about that for a minute?
Sure.
Here,
Why
let me,
don't you show the picture? I have
sure,
such
I
a big
will.
collection.
Okay. And maybe you can speak a little bit about these.
Well, this is a fun table that I like to use to create like grids. I think they're called grids.
Hmm.
I call them just nothing, just playing, playing with my crystals. I like to have in the center my AR frequency activated quartz, and I usually put it under a little coaster that has the symbol that the helping spirits gave.
Okay.
And then I just beautify it with my minerals. This one is just quartzes. There are all kinds of quartzes here. There's Brazilian quartz, alpine quartz, Himalayan quartz. There's one quartz here that is very powerful. This one is a laser wand. So this is what I think, something similar to what the Atlanteans used.
I'm going to stop sharing
This,
so we can see this more clearly.
yes, this quartz is not polished. This is made by nature. It has tiny little facets here. When you work with a quartz that has this much power, you never point to a human being because
Right.
this is a surgical tool.
Hmm.
So this, when they're singing quartzes. If you bang two of these together, they create music.
Hmm.
So this is the highest of all. I mean, there's so many that I could say this is the highest of
It's
all.
interesting too when when the Pomo Indians would bang quartzes together, they because of the qualities, they would often create a spark, and that's how they
Yes,
would could build fire.
yes, absolutely, because of the piezoelectricity and
Right.
the other electricity that it has. We never know the name
I
of it.
never know the name.
Piezo. Yeah. Yeah, if you bang two quartzes together in a dark room, you will get a light. I don't want to
Hmm.
break my quartzes. But yeah, there's so much to know. There's quartzes that have been polished, like this one. And then there's quartzes that have been made entirely like this by Mother
Right,
Nature.
that's the natural form as it forms under the earth.
This one.
Yep.
I could show you many examples that are natural. I love this one because it reminds me of the peace sign.
Hmm.
So this is two quartzes together that were, bonded together when they grew. Totally natural. Two wands. There's so many, many beautiful quartzes. I could let you show that picture
Okay,
again.
we'll go back to this. There we go. Oh, I've gone the wrong way. Let's go there.
Oh, that's okay. Yes, you can see some um, big
These larger
pieces.
ones.
Yeah, these are, let me grab one. These are alpine. So this is quartz. It's not the best specimen. I love all of the specimens, but this is alpine. This is from the Mont Blanc. So, very interesting quartz. Um, Very brilliant, very, very fascinating quartz. I want to show the big one that
Okay.
in the picture.
Do you want to grab it now?
I can't. It's 20 kilos.
Okay.
You have to show it. You have to show it in the picture. I might fall off my chair. Not that
The
one.
next one?
The last one.
Oh, this
The
one.
last, this one. So this, if you see, is not entirely clear. It has a little bit of smoky quartz, smoky brown. This was found in Wasserhorn, which is one of the Swiss mountains. Well, it's an amazing quartz. When I brought him home, I channeled him and I asked him if he had a name, and he called himself Sunny Rocket. he explained me that he was made of the sun's energy, like a rocket that
Oh,
could
wow,
bring
cool.
you back
Mm-hmm.
that that energy. And then he spoke about the Taurus field. I don't
Oh,
know if
right,
you
yes. Mm-hmm.
know. So the Taurus field is like, an orange that the energy always goes inside, like a tornado has a Taurus,
It looks like a donut, actually, with
looks
the
like a
current
donut.
flowing
Yeah.
around each
Yes.
of the bends
Yes.
in the yeah.
Absolutely. And so this crystal explained to me that he had that energy inside of him. He's a masculine crystal. That's why I say he represents really a force, a masculine force of energy. And I absolutely adore him. I mean, to think that this crystal that weighs almost 20 kilos um, was born under the earth, okay,
Mm-hmm.
as a quartz. And then when the tectonic plaques of Africa and Europe smashed together and created the Alps,
Right.
the alpine quartz was elevated to 2,500 meters above sea level. This one was found at 2,800 meters above sea level. So it is fascinating that it is still in perfect condition. You see his point.
His
He has
termination
a
is beautiful.
beautiful, and it was, I mean, that's a whole other story about the geology, of
Oh,
quartz,
absolutely. Absolutely.
because Brazilian quartz is found underneath our feet, in mines,
Right.
and Himalayan quartz and alpine quartz, which is the Alps, French and Switzerland, is found above the sea level. So it was, sent up
Right.
2 or 3,000 meters. I mean, it is crazy. The story of our planet is unbelievable. I will never have enough time to understand all of it but my curiosity is always open to learning a little bit.
Wow. Well, I think that's probably what we needed to talk about today. But it
Yes.
sounds to me like we might need a part two.
Well, let's see. Let's see if people ask for it. And also, if I could sum it up to one thing is if I've learned one thing in my life is to
Hmm.
become a feeling machine.
I think that's
Because,
beautiful.
we can understand everything with our brains or not understanding, or you and I could make a mistake on something, but who cares? We are here to just feel. So it is more for me about holding a quartz in my hand and just closing my eyes and feeling my own story, uh, of
Right.
existence,
Hmm.
feeling my own like opening and understanding of something. Because just to become a feeling machine is so much wiser than knowing everything.
It
You
is.
could, yeah, you
Absolutely.
could just drown in knowledge and never feel.
And that is interesting because we learn that lesson in Kabbalah. Do we learn and know for knowing's sake, or do we learn and know to expand and open to something else? And I
Yeah.
think that's again, we're looking at balance all the time.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think we've
And
gotten off
shamanic
balance.
work, yeah, shamanic work is so beautiful because we can have our own relationship with nature, with the
Hmm.
spirit of nature, with the spirit of quartz. We can have direct revelations. We can know what it means for us, not
Exactly.
necessarily what it means for me or for you, but what it means for that person, and that's good enough.
Exactly. Exactly. Knowing is not a one size fits all.
Yes.
It is an
Thank
individual thing.
God.
I know.
Thank Thank God, because some people are smarter than me, and I accept that, that I am not scientific. I am not a scientific brain, but I do know how to feel,
Hmm.
and I do know how to get inside me and just know that I am just part of nature, that I am part of this universe, and that's what I want to know. So if I have 10 more years of this life in this vessel, 20 if I'm lucky, or 30 if I'm super lucky, or 10 days. It doesn't matter as long as I took some time to just
To
explore
feel.
and feel.
Hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you for this conversation today.
Thank you. Thank
Oh, you're
you. There's
welcome.
so much to know about quartz, and we have just managed to open up the curiosity, maybe, hopefully.
Perfect. Right. Well, thank you, and we'll be talking again soon. I look forward to it.
Thank you, Shana. Thank you so, so much. Thank you.
See you next time.
Yes.